He doesn't snore, and neither do I. It's cemented. So anyway, let's get back to serious. Okay, so we got the pinky drop here, right? Okay, so let's talk about the three main ways that you can hold the bat. And actually, there's four, but we're going to simplify into three. So we're all going to do this, and this is the main way here on the bottom hand. But let's talk about the top hand. Your conventional baseball grip. Okay, you know, just like so. Some people advocate lining knuckles up. I do not personally like that. I like kind of in between where it's a little bit more comfortable, where you can still get control if you're pushing the ball backside, or your wrist will still roll over plenty good if you're pulling the ball. So if I'm not telling you not to line your knuckles up, if you've been doing that and you're very comfortable with it and you're successful with that, that's fine. But a lot of people think that's the one, you know, that you've got to line your knuckles up. You don't. Okay, so if you do and you're successful with it and you're comfortable with it, don't change it. But there's a common fallacy that you've heard that, you know, from the baseball side of things, you know, that everybody talks about that. So if that's your, you know, your conventional baseball grip, you know, like that, you see, you know, a lot of guys doing that. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, again, this is a personal thing that you find, you play around with, and you find what becomes comfortable to you and gives you your best results. And as I told you, I changed my grip 6 months ago after almost 30 years of gripping the bat the same way. Just messing around one day at batting practice and became comfortable and hit pretty well that day, and hit pretty well the next day. And then we played a tournament that weekend, hit pretty well in the tournament. I'm like, I guess I got a new grip because I really like this. Okay, so the next grip, I'm going to go to the extreme, and then we're going to come back. This is what people call the overlap grip, where you literally only have one hand, you know, these fingers around the bat like this, and all of these fingers overlap here. Okay, and you know, there's a pretty good amount of people that use this grip. I personally think that I might consider using this grip if all I had to do was get up and try to hit home runs all the time, but I don't have that luxury. I have to control the ball, as all of you do as well. I think that you lose a little bit of control like this. Again, I'm not going to tell you not to do it. I'm just want to explain to you what it is and what it can do. It does help you roll the hands, and you do get extension and a little bit extra bat speed by doing that. Some people think that it helps them pull the ball a little bit better because the snap of the wrist when you're doing that. But that's, you know, that's a full overlap grip, like so. What I've kind of developed for myself, I actually used to kind of have just one little pinky down, you know, like this. Recently, I've gone to what I call a partial overlap, where I have two fingers on the bat and two fingers here. And I feel like it helped me to get extension and to get whip through the ball, but I still feel like I can control the ball when I need to go to right field, or I need to, you know, I'm picking a hole, you know, where I want to hit, or a gap that I'm hitting. I still have plenty of control of the bat, but if I do have a situation where I can free swing, I feel like I get a little bit extra snap through the ball, and I was able to, I think, actually increase bat speed slightly with this grip, like this. So this is what I call a partial overlap grip. So
the thing that bothers me about those is it feels like that when the ball hits the bat, the more solid you are connected to the bat, the farther it'll go. And if I'm now, you know, making it so it's just this little tight thing here, and I'm kind of loose, that the ball's not going to go as far.
Well, actually, that's not necessarily true, because I know some of the most prolific home run hitters in the young kids game in the conference, if you guys ever watch that, do a full overlap grip where they're holding the bat literally like this, okay? And they're hitting balls 400 feet, okay? And yeah, granted they're 25, 28 years old or whatever, but there is a lot of power to be had. It's something that you have to hit and hit and hit and get used to. And again, I'm not telling you to use a full overlap grip, but in your mind, you're kind of taking out the equation of being able to hit like that. But actually, when you get used to it, it can be a very powerful thing.
Yes.
Now again, you have to be able to, the control part of it is the key. I like to say, like with, you know, if you're a right-handed hitter, of course your lead hand, you know, is generating power and the whip through the ball. This is our control hand so much more, where we keep our bat on plane. And I feel like when I only have this, I don't control the head of the bat quite as good, which is why I don't like a full overlap grip. But you might want to, you know, definitely if you don't already, try this, you know, with the pinky drop. And you know, maybe you want to try one little hang overlap or two if you want to. Again, this is the time to experiment with it, and you know, play with it today. Play with different bats today, and today's a good day to kind of experiment some things. If you're comfortable with what you're doing, and you know, then don't change it. But we want to show you some of the different ways and different things that you can do. And because who knows, maybe you make a change in your grip and it's like an epiphany. And I really kind of felt that way. Look, I don't change a whole lot with my swing. I've been doing, you know, basically the same thing for a long, long time, but it worked, you know, and I've known about these things, I just never really tried it. And when I did, it really worked. So.
Alan, may I add that?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're a hitter that uses all fields and like to go backside, depending where the pitch is, I think the best grip, control-wise, is this in here. You do lose a little bit on this. If you're just going to hit the ball for, you know, bat speed and just try to overpower the defense, that'll work. But if you're going to try to control the ball in terms of going middle, backside,
agreed. The more you have on the bat, you probably have a little bit more control.
That top hand does do a lot of control.
And again, you do have to have some grip strength and some forearm strength. The more that you overlap, the more of that you're going to have to keep the control on the bat. Okay. I feel really total under control like this. Okay. But you might try it, and your bat head, as you're coming through, is dropping slightly. Next thing you know, you're hitting fly ball, fly ball, fly ball, fly ball. Again, don't abandon it right away, but look, if it's not going to fit you and your style of and technique and your strength ability or whatever, then go to where it's comfortable. There's not a right or wrong here. There really isn't. It's something that you just want to get where you're comfortable with, because when you get in the batter's box, you don't want to be thinking about grip. You don't want to be thinking about anything. Like Bob said, what's the quote from yesterday, Bob?
You can't think and hit at the same time.
And you can't.
Yogi Berra.
Yogi Berra, you can't think and hit
It's
at
an
the same
acronym.
time.
I'm sure if somebody's heard it, it's called KISS. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah. We talked about that before you got here yesterday because you were late.
Boom, boom.
Yeah. So anyway, no, we did.
My son might have been a little upset if I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Alan, I have a question.
Yes, Jeff.
You play around with different grips and BP and all of that. Over the course of a weekend, do you find yourself just using one grip, or does sometimes a situation won't dictate something like, you know what, I got to press for that base hit. I'm going to go to something that I know.
The only time that I do occasionally do that, and this is just me, is let's say we have no home runs or nobody's on base, and I for sure do not want to take a chance of hitting a home run. Okay? Sometimes what I do is I will shorten my hand up here, and instead of having all my fingers, you know, the two fingers off, sometimes I will change my grip to only have one finger off. Again, it's a control thing. Okay? Where I've seen a hole or I've seen a gap, and we'll talk about this, usually you want to have one or two things that you've identified before you get in the box of a possible lag in a defense or a guy cheating you or whatever that you want to go after. When I'm going after stuff like that, yeah, so to answer your question, yes, I do slightly change my grip here. As far as what I do here, I don't. I'm comfortable with this in any situation now. It's just become me, and I'm fine with it, whether I'm driving it to the right side, driving in the middle, or whatever. When we hit today, you can watch me. I won't change, you know, and I'm as comfortable hitting the ball backside as not. But that's me. And again, I'm not trying to tell everybody to hit like I do or grip the bat like I do. I wanted to give you the different ways, some educated expectation of what you might find out if you do, you know, try this grip or try that grip. And that's why you're here. That's why you're here. Experiment, see what works for you, see what feels comfortable for you. But, you know, give whatever you're experimenting with enough time to see if it, you know, don't take 5 swings and say that's no way. Now, if, you know, you take 5 swings and 3 times the bat flies out of your hand, yeah, I think you might want to. So,
Get some glue.
Yeah, get some more sticky stuff.
Let me add a little bit of the science to it. And Alan's mentioned, Alan says the longer the lever, the what?
More leverage.
The more leverage. Anybody understand that? Yeah. Okay, let me give you a little visual aid on that. What we have here, how long are these softball bats?
34.
Every single one of them is 34 inches long. So when people are choking down on the bat, they're making the bat longer from the top of the hand to the end of the bat. They've increased the length of the lever. Visual, golfers here, we got any golfers? All right, the driver is longer than the pitching wedge. The driver is used for what?
Distance.
Distance. The pitching wedge is used for control. All right, so the same thing with the bat. All right, if you wanna overload, all right, you're trying to create a driver. You're trying to create distance, because the longer the lever, the greater the velocity at the end of the lever. If you want a base hit, remember Pete Rose back in the day? What'd he do?
Choked up.
He choked up on the bat. He made the bat shorter so he could control it better, so he could barrel it up. All right, just make contact. Try to keep it in the yard. So the science of it. Come here. Let me use my guys here. There's a visual aid here. Alan's going to start here. We're going to make this lever longer. Come on, Jeffrey. All right. Every time we add somebody, the lever gets longer. Now, if we start to rotate this way, all right, let's rotate. Come on. Alan's barely moving. Come on, Roger. But what's Jeff doing?
Got to move faster.
Yeah.
Jeff's got a haul butt. Now, if we added all of you guys to that lever, the longer that lever got, that last guy would be sprinting
Just to keep
around
up.
in the circle.
You see what that does to your barrel head?
So you understand that? So the longer the lever, the
visual.
greater the velocity at the end of the lever. That last guy is hauling butt. Okay? So that's why the driver is longer than the sand wedge and the whole 9 yards. But that's why they take a 34-inch bat and they're cheating. They're making it longer. But you're going to lose a little bit of control. But when they're trying to hit it out of the ballpark, it's not all about control. It's about getting the ball in the air. And that leads to our next segment here. All right? We're going to talk about the contact area of the round object on a round object. All right, we've got a round bat and a round ball. So the contact area is pretty small. The actual surface of the ball that ends up hitting the bat is pretty small. All right? As a hitter, we're going to actually create spin on the ball. Got that? We're going to create spin on the ball, just like in golf. If you're early and you make contact with the barrel ahead of the hands, all right, what's going to happen is, thank you. Here's the angle. So when that ball's coming in this way, it's now going to hit and go that way with a little left to right spin.
He's simulating a pulled ball,
Okay.
Going into left field for a right.
So if you make contact too far out in front, or you let your barrel get out ahead of the hands, you're going to create a little hook spin. All right? And that ball's going to, most of those balls you pull down the line, sometimes they do what? They hook foul. All right? So if the bat head, if you're a little earlier, that bat head gets out there too much, you're going to hook it. All right? If you're right on, if you wait a little longer, that pitch down the middle, this is called squaring it up. If you can square it up, you're going to be a lot more successful in the game. Squaring it up means the hands and the barrel get to the ball at the same time. Notice that? My hands and barrel got to the ball at the same time. That ball's going to go to center field. It's only going to have either top spin, back spin, or no spin at all. And we'll talk about that in just a second. But the object of the game is to square it up. We are stronger right here. All right, now if the barrel's a little late or the pitch is away, look at the angle, and now that's going to have slice spin. It's going to spin right to left. All right?
I use the example if you ever play ping pong and you take your paddle and you slice the ball goes like this. It's exactly the same thing.
Inside out.
But even as a hitter, we create spin on the ball. Which one, let me ask you this question. Let's look at the field. Where do you have more power? Let's say we're right-handed hitters. Where do you have more power? Left field, center field, or right field? How many people think right-handed hitters have more power to left field? Raise your hand. Okay, how many people think you have more power to center field? How many people think you have more power to right field? All right. Sometimes that's preference, but the
You're
science.
just a stud. You can hit it anywhere, bro.
Here's the science of it. It's the laws of rebound. This, or this. Which one's going to go farthest? This one, the one you squared up. All right? And here's the great way to think of baseball fields. Down the line. Let's think of Fenway. Down the line. 310.
Maybe.
Center field.
400.
405 maybe. Right field. Pesky's pole. 275.
Or Yankee Stadium,
But then
296.
it goes crazy.
The world's made for left-handed hitters.
But think of all baseball fields. Think
Wind
of all
always blows
baseball
out the right.
fields. Which field is the farthest.
Yeah.
Center field. Why?
Square it up.
Because if you square it up, it goes farther to center field. Let's look at this field, the softball field. What do we got down the line?
300.
What do we got in center?
300.
What do we got in right?
300.
So if you're trying to go yard and you want to hit the ball out of the ballpark, where should you try to hit it?
Right field.
Center field.
Center field. All right, everybody wants to pull. Center field. Another reason, where's the biggest hole in the infield? Four-man
Middle.
infield. Center field, right through the middle. You just got to get it by that screen right there.
And let me tell you, he's preaching because that's where he hits all the time.
That's where he lives.
Four-man outfield. There's a gap in center field. Sometimes you get up to the plate and you can see all the way to the fence in center field. All right? So don't get pull happy. Try to square the ball up, hit it right back where it came from.
And when we're talking center field too, we don't necessarily mean dead over second base. You're talking, 10, 15 feet here, 10, 15 feet there. You've got that alley of center field.
This also helps you by staying closed up. A lot of us fly open, shoulders come open, hips open up real early.
Feet move in the box.
By hitting between left center,
Where's
right
Fred?
center, that'll help you stay closed up.
Fred is there.
And get a lot more bat speed. Your bat speed is the highest point is right there. And it starts decreasing after it.
Does your answer change if you're playing against one of these crappy 65 teams and they put their extra fielder right behind second
They
base?
want you to change your swing.
Well, of course.
They're
That's
trying to
the
make
object.
it. They're
Now-
trying to
Now,
make you
now
think
look,
about
What do they do?
when we're talking about power too, you have to realize what your power game is and what your limitations are as a hitter. What are you best at? Are you a power hitter that can hit balls over people's heads? Are you a power hitter that can hit balls over the fence? And if that's not part of your game, then obviously this really isn't necessarily directed specifically for you. However, what you brought up with is the defense part of the game, absolutely, and we're going to get into that even more so here. So yeah, you want to look at your defense, and Bob is probably, I think, the best hitter in softball at picking two spots and hitting one of them every single time. He hits over 800 pretty much every weekend, and he does it like that, and he can do it without hitting a home run. But when the time comes to hit a home run, he'll hit it as far as anybody. So,
Well, look at him.
I know. I told Bob, I said it wouldn't be fair if God made me his pitcher. It just wouldn't be fair.
I just moved everything up a little.
No pressure, Bob.
What happens then is when they take that hole away in the middle, when they add that fifth man in the infield, they've opened up something else.
Yes.
And now they've opened up the gaps. But you got left center and right center. It's still the middle of the field.
Now,
Now
I
you
know
just wanna
some
keep it away
of
from
you
that
guys
little
in the
guy in center.
60s play with an extra fielder all the time, right? 5-man infield plus 4-man outfield, right? So that also, you got to look at that and take that into account too, and what you're going to try to do.
The good news is they're over 60 and they don't run balls down as well
That's right.
as they did earlier.
And
The
that-
last part about ball travel and distance is where do we make contact on the ball? Okay? If we hit the ball, if we're a little early and we hit the ball below center, way below center, where's this ball going to go up?
Up.
It's going to go up. Backspin and it's going to go straight up. If we get a little bit higher on it, this is going to be backspin, more of a, that's probably the home run spot right there, believe it or not. All right? You get a little bit closer to center, now you've got a line drive, okay? You get square, right, dead center in the middle. That's the biggest compliment ever.
Yeah.
You've hit the ball
Biggest
square on
compliment.
the square part of the bat.
You hit it square right in the center of the ball. You hit the center of gravity and it came off with no spin on it. It knuckled, okay? Hard to catch. It's not going to travel as far, all right? But it's tough to catch. The infielders and the outfielders, they got a battle hitting on
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Slightly above center. Now you've got maybe a one hopper. A little bit more above that. Now you got a four hopper. And then if you hit the top of the ball, it's a bunt.
Go back to
Swinging
the
bunt
dugout.
down in-
That's where you're going.
Been there, done it.
So
Butt
when
to first
you
base.
know what you're trying to do, if you're trying to get it, if there's a 5-man infield, you want to elevate it. You got to get it in the air. So you want to be a little early, or you want to make contact on the lower half of the ball and get it in the air. Okay? If it's a 4-man and the 5-6 hole is wide open, and nobody's on base, and you just want to get a base hit and drive it through that hole, get you an inside pitch that you can turn on. and hit somewhere above the center of the ball and go ahead and hit you a ground ball. But we do have control of what the ball does off of our bat. All right? But it's all about the spin that we put on the ball. Okay? Everybody understand that? If you see side spin on the ball, what did you do? Well,
Or you just drug the bat through.
what if you pulled it and it had left to right spin? Then you really inside outed. You dragged the barrel a little bit, all right, and you pulled across the ball at contact. You weren't going to the ball, you were actually coming across the ball at contact and created some side spin on it. So watch the spin. After you hit it, watch the spin, and that'll tell you a whole lot. Was I early? Was I late? Was I on time? Okay.
And what was I trying to do with that swing?
For all you Yankee fans, Derek Jeter was a specialist.
Absolutely. The best hitter I think that I've ever seen at being able to take inside pitches and hit them to right field effectively over and over and over again. That's something almost, it's hard to even coach
You don't
that.
even try to teach it.
I don't try to teach that very well because he was just very gifted at that. Very gifted at that.
Okay, pitch selection.
Real quick though, I just want to get back to the knob and no knob, right?
Oh yeah.
Alan, when I first started playing with him, this is how I used to swing, right? And I went to a knob, and I'll tell you why I felt like where he says, make a change, you might be surprised. I would, with this one, I would get a lot of blisters hitting. Plus, I feel like I had to grip the bat a lot harder to keep it from coming out of my hand. When I put this knob on here, and this is, again, personal preference, when I put this knob on here, my wrists are different, the grip is a lot smoother, I don't have to squeeze the bat, and I have not gotten a blister with this yet. So, but that's, again, it's personal preference. Like, I don't drop a finger off, I put a finger on the knob, and then I put a finger on my here, right? But with this thing, it doesn't allow me, I don't have to like squeeze the knob so hard because now my finger's laying on it. So just when it comes back to grip, don't, like, where he's saying is, change your grip. This is a great time to practice changing your grips because you'd be surprised on things that you thought you were what I call when I work with my girls, I do batting lessons and for boys and girls, whatever. I tell them, you guys don't know unless you change. You've been taught by the book how to hold the bat. There's no by the book. It's whatever you guys prefer, right? I generally, and he does lessons too, I do lessons. I don't have, you do it my way or it's the highway. I adjust girls. Like I showed him a girl yesterday with that girl, I showed you with that leg lift. Some girls in softball, they don't have time. I've got a girl that does this and she's great at it. And I got girls who do that and they're not great at it. So where he's saying to try to make adjustments here today or during these camps, you'd be stunned on the things that will happen when you try to change something here and there. And if it doesn't work, go back to what you know.
A lot of times,
Right.
it's the little things, the little changes
Little
you make
things.
that make the huge results.
Little
Carlton.
things. You'll watch when we take swings, he doesn't leg lift, I leg lift. It's just something I've done my whole baseball, softball career, right?
Yeah,
So
circles,
it,
yeah.
again, that comes down to personal preference, right?
Talk about your grip. You grip the bottom hand tight, top hand loose.
comes up.
Bob's going to speak specifically
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that.
he's gonna,
He's
yeah,
gonna-
and
that-
he'll
'cause that's
probably cover
very
what
good
you
point.
just asked, yeah.
Exactly. You
But
wanna
I'm
do
just
that,
saying,
Bob?
don't be afraid to try some different stuff. Yes, ma'am.
I know the knob is super light. Doesn't it affect your end load?
Not at all.
Well,
I mean, to me, it doesn't.
in your head, yes.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna talk about end load versus balance bats, so we're gonna segue into that in a second. So let me handle that there.
Okay.
Yeah, doesn't
Yes,
affect me at all.
We spoke about end result of spin. What about intentional spin?
What?
We spoke about end result. We spoke about, okay, you hit the ball this way. If you hit the ball that way, it's kind of fate. But what about intentional spin? You're up in the box and you're thinking in terms of putting spin on a ball.
You're not supposed to be thinking in the box, Scott.
All right. But what are the dynamics of that?
It's the same thing. If you're trying to throw it into the right
like,
center
"Alright, shut
gap,
up."
you want to inside out the ball. We just talked about Derek Jeter did it.
We're gonna
And
leave
what
the
that
bat
means
barrel
is you
slightly
can
back.
take a pitch, instead of squaring it up, you can let it get a little deeper. You can lead with the hands and intentionally create this spin.
You can intentionally doing what you were doing unintentionally yesterday.
Because nobody's
Sincerely,
on.
for those of you that were here, Brad was hitting yesterday.
Yeah.
And every single ball that he hit, he probably hit 8 out of 10 out of the park. And he did the exact same thing, and he just spun the ball, it went high and dropped wherever it dropped. And that's something I'd like to
That's backspin.
understand
That's
instead of just
Yeah.
wow, it happened this
That's
time.
exactly
We
right.
talked about the home run derby,
Catch up.
where we talked about the uppercut versus the level cut versus slightly down. That has a direct effect on you trying to spin the ball. All right. If you're trying to create backspin, we want to go level or down into it just a little bit, and you want to hit below the center of the ball, and that's just called spinning it. And that's what we want to do in home runs. We want to spin the ball. We want to get backspin. We all know backspin's going to travel farther.
So I use the analogy
Right.
with my girls when I'm working with my girls, because I get girls that come from other hitting coaches that are teaching them to drop the barrel, swing up, like Aaron Judge, right? I always say to them, because they throw, I'm going to use a guy's analogy, but girls are different. If a girl throws a rise ball, she puts backspin on it and it goes up. Well, if a baseball player throws a curveball, he puts topspin on it and it goes down. So I'm trying to create that rise ball off my bat, because if you square a ball up, it's going to knuckle, it's not going to go anywhere. But if I put backspin on a ball, what's that going to create? Lift. And I'm trying to create lift. Floating a ball out of the park is better than trying to mash it out of the park, because the ball will carry farther if you spin it. If you hit the top of the ball, it's going to create topspin, and that's where you get those humpers that go over the infield.
This is kind of
So I don't swing up.
right.
I swing flat and I cut through.
You'll see
slightly
the
downward.
slightly different thing when you.
Well, fast pitch, no, you don't want
No,
to.
not- no.
Slow pitch, we can't.
No.
So
yeah,
you
slow
have a
pitch,
lot
if
you have a
it's
lot more
of a,
ability to change
this,
things in swing planes
Yeah,
and slow pitch
softball's
and in
kinda the
fast
same.
pitch. But the idea is, and this is kind of an advanced skill that you build, that you work on, but you want to be a good hitter first before you worry about being a home run hitter. And you got to learn the mechanics of being a good hitter and get yourself comfortable with that. And I'm not talking. I'm not saying. I'm not calling you out. But what I'm at is, you should be able to at certain point hopefully build enough confidence and skill if you're trying to do that of literally flattening your swing out, driving a ball in a hole, okay, because you want to keep it in the park, or like Brad said, it's not drop the barrel head. The only time you ever see someone drop the barrel head that really will hit a home run is someone that's hitting a shorter pitch that they may or may not should have swung at to begin with. But really, the consistent home run hitter or the consistent person that drives the ball, maybe not even a home run hitter, a gap hitter or a guy that's going to burn somebody, is someone that just slightly elevates the bat through the swing. Because remember, we just want to cut just below the center of that ball to get that backspin. So it's not this, it's this. And
I
it's
always-
only about that much.
Just think about it. You're setting your bat on a table and you're running it across the top of your dinner table. That's kind of what you're trying to do. Okay, instead of taking the legs out and coming up through the, you don't want to
You
do that.
remember the last derby? You were pitching to me, and I just couldn't. I'm dropping bombs to the fence, and he turns around after we're done. Hey, you're batted 1,000, Scott. Yeah, with one home run.
The problem is there's a home run derby. I did the same thing
I just
when we
couldn't
hit in
adjust,
the,
you know,
in
and
the
I just didn't
Smokies
know how to.
last year. I just, I was, when you get in home run derbies, sometimes you get, you want to hit it far, and it's a big field, and I was overswinging a little bit, but I just hit line drive after line drive after line drive, and I think I even told Bob or somebody, I just hit 940.
The problem is, and here's the thing, he can throw cookie after cookie for the most, just every time we pitch to him, I think we all get nervous and we can't throw him a damn strike the second time.
I got a good pitcher. in the home run.
I know.
You got the adjustment. Yeah.
But
But
anyway,
as
let's-
good as he is, he should be able to hit bad pitches. I don't want to hear that.
Well, no, and we're going to talk about that right now. I think that's a great
segue.
into what we're going to talk about, which is pitch selection. Okay.
Let me start with this story real quick and lead into it. One of the greatest hitters of our generation is a guy by the name of Tony Gwynn. Somebody asked him one day, "What is your secret?" And usually major leaguers don't want to give their secret away, but he says, "My secret was I hit good pitches." In other words, he hit strikes. All right? And now we're going to talk about why that's so
I have
important.
a little something to add to that. Something kind of psychological and interesting. They were interviewing David Ortiz, and they were asking him, how is it that you're always able to hit in clutch situations? How do you do it? What is your mentality? What's your technique? How do you do it? He said, I'm not afraid to fail.
Yep.
And that's very interesting, because we all have a little thing in us that we want to do good.
Of course.
To the point where we're a little afraid to fail. But if you erase the afraid to fail part, you don't have to worry about it.
You're gonna erase my video from yesterday then.
After we do pitch selection, I'm going to address that exact issue.
I
okay?
played ball with Dante Bichette a little bit, and he told me, and he goes, "What makes a good hitter a great hitter?" Pitch selection.
So that's what we're going to talk about for a
And
minute.
he was a good hitter.
You heard me yesterday, a lot of you saying hit strikes, hit strikes, hit strikes, right? Let's get back to the same thing. It's ratios, it's numbers, it's averages, it's on base percentage. That's what we're all after. Excuse me. And if you don't hit strikes, you can go from a 750 hitter to a 500 hitter really fast. Because look, the law of averages says that if that ball is not coming in and going to hit that plate and you swing at it, you're not going to be able to hit it as well as if it was going to hit the plate. It's simple as that. I mean, you hear people say, well, I'm a bad ball hitter. Well, then you aren't a good hitter. Because I'm going to tell you right now, guys that consistently hit bad pitches are not good hitters. They're not. Or they're not as good as they could be. Bob came up with a great comment we always put, in fact, it's written on the sheet. Every pitch is hittable.
In softball.
In softball, right? I mean,
Slow pitch softball.
other than, a guy that bounces 5, 10 feet in front of the plate, you can't reach or whatever. But when every pitch is hittable, like how many of them do you really want to swing at? You don't want to swing at every pitch. You want to be swinging at strikes. You also want to start to identify what your strengths and weaknesses are as a hitter. Some people, the taller people generally hit balls a little bit higher, better than us little guys, okay? The dude's 6'12" over there. I mean, he can hit balls that would be over my head, and he thinks it's just right in his power zone. He's killing it, okay? You have to know a little bit about yourself as a hitter to know what you're looking for as far as a pitch goes. And don't be afraid on the first pitch if somebody gives it to you to swing at it, okay? Yesterday, mental approach. I put a 1-1 count on you. What does that make you do in the batter's box? You've got to get in there and get ready. The first good pitch you see in a 1-1 situation, you hit it, okay? You don't take a strike. And there's nothing wrong with even if you have a full count. If that guy throws you your favorite pitch, hit it. Don't be up there saying, I'm going to take a strike first. No, sir.
Alan, what do you change in a one-pitch tournament?
I'm sorry?
What do you change, or do you change in a one-pitch?
As far as what I do in the batter's box?
Swing the bat.
I swing the bat. I do the same thing that I've talked to you guys about, that we've talked about all the time, is I call timeout, I do my landscaping, I've watched what the pitcher's tendencies are, and you might not identify it perfectly. The guy might mess up and throw a short pitch when he's been throwing nothing but deep. Okay, we don't want to, I think it was Rico, we were talking out the gate where we were trying to break into the park. And I told, small adjustments in the batter's box, 3 inches here, 3 inches there, which is going to get me to the next part of this, are big. You don't have to make giant adjustments. In fact, let's go to the batter's box if you guys want to go a little closer. I'm going to show what we're talking about. And I'm going to break into the second part of hitting strikes. And
Get on that side, gang. It's a little easier to see the right-hander.
this is what I like to do. And this touches on a little bit about what we did yesterday. You guys all know what this box is now, right? Because you learned yesterday. You guys are all impact zone hitters now. So what I've done here is I've made a quadrant. So what I call this is quadrant hitting. Okay? I'm gonna typically get in the batter's box if I don't, regular pitcher, I don't see any big, sometimes he's deep, sometimes he's not, whatever. This is my typical stance, somewhere like this. Okay? Now, your question was, great question, what do you do, when in a one-pitch situation? Or let's take that even a step further. As Bob has taught me, I used to pick a spot. If it wasn't a home run situation, I would usually pick one spot and go for it, okay? And what I would do in the batter's box is something I still want to teach you all, but now Bob has expanded my horizons to where I actually have 2 spots, okay? I've got a secondary spot, because sometimes if that spot is over there, I might not get the pitch, even though it's a strike, to go over there. And that's what's called forcing pitches, okay? So it's a strike, but it's here. Now I can hit that pitch over there. Okay, I can Derek Jeter it. But when I do that, I probably am a 650 hitter instead of a 750 hitter. Okay, it's not acceptable to me. Okay, so that's forcing a pitch. So here's what what I like to do in the batter's box. So we all have our 80% go-to favorite place in the batter's box, which you should, you know, find for yourself. Okay? Now, I've done my homework. I've watched the pitcher like I'm supposed to. I've looked at the defense how I'm supposed to. And I've identified that not only do I have, I've hit 3 balls over to the left side of the field. I hit a home run, and I hit a couple base hits, and I popped up to the pitcher. But no. Anyway, I've hit 3 balls in the side of the field. And so the defense now, when we typically play, when most major plus teams play 5-man infield, 3 outfielders. Okay? So you don't, if you got 3 guys on this side, or maybe this guy's a little bit on this side of, and typically they'll usually play me a little bit on this side of the bag, in a base hit situation or whatever. So I noticed the second baseman's a little lazy, and he's like there, and the first baseman's there. And see, what I've identified is, if I hit that ball on the ground, on a line drive, or even on a line a fly ball, if I can hit that light pole, I'm gold. That's my direction, okay? So that's my one spot. And then I've also noticed that the center fielder is playing over here. I still have this gap, but I also have this gap here because the left fielder's playing me to pull because I pulled balls before. So that's my secondary, okay? But my primary is I want to keep the ball in the park, okay? And I've identified that side of the field as what I want to do. Now, here's my go-to stance, right? And I'm going to hit the ball where it's pitched because I taught myself that, and I know that I'm most successful if I do that. But if I'm going to hit the ball where it's pitched, remember how we set the balls and we did the inside, the center, and then the outside pitch of where we're supposed to impact them, right? If I'm going to hit the pitch correctly, I really need a pitch somewhere from here out to go over there to really have good back control, have good technique, and give myself my best opportunity of doing it. What can I do to affect that to help me have even more success with that? It's a simple movement. If I stand like this, I've moved back 3 inches, not a foot. This is telegraphing what you're doing. Everybody knows if you normally are like this and you get in the box like this, they're gonna know it's there or there. That's what you're trying to do, okay? You don't need to do that. But 3 inches here, now I've bought 3 inches from here to here. Do you understand? Because before, these 3 inches really technically couldn't go over there effectively. But with 3 inches here, I've moved the center of this plate from here all the way over here. Now, roughly 3/4 of the plate I own to do what I want with. Do you understand what I'm getting at here? Yes. Okay? Consequently, same thing. I got a hole there. I can move up slightly. Okay? Now, the more I move up, the farther out here I got to go, right? But there's a hole right between short and third because I've hit a couple balls up the middle, and that garage door is wide open. So I have now bought 3 inches over here that I can have effective, good quality swings at a strike, but be able to push a ball there. Make sense? That gets into also of the slight adjustment of here, if you the tendency of a short pitch, or here, okay? We don't want to make too much of a big adjustment because look, just because he threw 2 short pitches in a row and you move all the way up like this, the next day he drops one on the back edge and you're like, oh boy, what am I going to do now? Yeah, exactly. And I think it was Rico I was talking about. Look, that can happen if he gets one of those high pitches. Let me just tell you, I'm going to simplify this real quickly. Don't ever try to pull this pitch. I'm telling you, you're going to pop it up 8 out of 10 times. You want to wait.
Unless you have Scotty's forearms.
Yeah, unless you're Scott, and you'll hit it over the lights over there. But what you want to do is get that ball middle to backside. You have a much better chance of getting a line drive. Get that little side spin on it. Get your hands out in front. Keep that barrel back a little bit, and you'll get that ball going over there. Okay? So.
Nothing. Demonstrating him. Was demonstrating Scotty.
So, does everybody understand that? This is a mental thing that also will help you physically in executing what it is you're trying to do. Okay? Any questions?
All right, last point, then we're going to get it going here. All right? And this is about the clutch hitter, and who was it you said that was
Ortiz?
Big Papi. Well, Big Papi, you know, he gets in the box. Big Papi's a fun-loving guy from what we can tell, right? And you can tell he enjoys the game. Some of the hitting success or lack thereof is created by us and the brain. The brain is a very powerful thing, all right? And if you're thinking too much and you're trying too hard, we all want to win. We all want to bat 1,000 every weekend, all right? The harder you try, the worse we get, all right? Story about Barry Bonds and Bobby Bonds. Everybody knows who that is, right? Barry Bonds once played for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and he wasn't very good in the playoffs. In fact, he stunk. I was a Pirates fan. All right, he struggled in the playoffs. He also struggled in the All-Star game. All right, the biggest crowd, the biggest situation, Barry Bonds wasn't so good. So one All-Star game, he asked his dad. He said, "Dad, you know, why am I struggling, you know, in the big situation?" And Barry said, Bobby said, "Listen, son," he said, "from the 25th row where you got me seats for, when you were up to bat, I could see every muscle in your forearm." And he says, "God, Dad, I've been working out, you know, I'm hitting the weights pretty hard, and that's good." He says, "No, son, that's not good."
I fell down on a needle last night, too.
He says, "When you get in the batter's he says, when you get in the batter's box, you have to relax. All right? You have to relax. And you have to relax the muscles. All right? If you got a death grip on the bat, if you're squeezing the bat real hard,
guys. This is key.
if you're squeezing the bat real hard, look at the muscles in your forearm. Everybody do that. Go ahead and pretend you're holding the bat and squeeze. All right?
Juice out of it.
Now, every muscle in your forearm now is contracted. How about your bicep and your tricep? Is it contracted? Yep. Sure it is. Okay? So now, in the big situation, the harder we try, the badder we want it, all right? The more we want it, we get up there and we just squeeze the life out of the bat. What really happens? Why is that bad? All right, let me tell you why. All right? We're going to use the bicep and the tricep for an example. All right? As we swing a bat, we're going to go from, the left arm's going to go from flexion to extension. All right? What muscle is responsible for that? The tricep. All right? That's called the agonist. That's the muscle that's supposed to be working. We have a muscle that's just the opposite of the tricep. What is it? Bicep. It's called the bicep. It's responsible for flexion of the arm. Tricep's responsible for extension of the arm. All right? They work against each other. So what has to happen when you're up to bat, if you're ready to go and you want to hit it as far as you can, you've got to let the tricep do the work. You've got to get to that extension, all right, and get some good bat speed out of it. So the tricep has to be working. The antagonist, the opposite muscle, the bicep, must be what? Relaxed. If it's not, they start working against each other. Triceps trying to extend, the biceps holding it back. All right? So what happens to your swing then?
Speed changes.
It becomes slower because they're fighting against each other. Okay? You got to let the agonist work, let the antagonist rest. You understand that? So the harder we try, the worse off we get. Watching a free throw. When a guy misses a free throw with the game on the line, do they usually miss short or long? Short. They usually miss short. All right? It's the choking concept. We choke because we try so hard, and we try so hard. Just think of that free throw. Here we go. We got it. We go from flexion to extension, right? When they shoot a basketball. So now the tricep's supposed to work, but the bicep has to be relaxed. If the bicep is fighting the tricep, it becomes a slower action. If it's slower, it doesn't get there. Watch, you'll see. Basketball on the free throw line, they'll miss short when the game's on the line. All right? So you understand that? Yeah. So to have a nice, smooth, ballistic swing, you've got to get in there and you got to relax. So we talk about playing the flute. All right? We talk about relaxing the hands when you're up there. Some of the people just kind of they create just a little bit of movement. But what you've got to do is you got to relax the hands and the muscles. Now, you still got to hold the bat. Yes, we've got to have a good grip, but you don't want to squeeze the life out of it. Okay? Do you understand that? The other thing you can do is Happy Gilmore. You've all seen the movie? All right? The Happy Place, you know? Again, the brain is a very powerful thing. You've got to, in a big situation, you got to get in there, take a deep breath, and you got to relax. You can't read tomorrow's newspaper today. So don't get in there and think about you being the hero. I'm going to win the game here, all right, and put all that pressure on yourself. You've got to go to your happy place. And quick story, when I was coaching a couple years ago, there was a kid from Valencia in Orlando, used to have a baseball program. They had a kid that he'd get in the box, he'd grab a handful of dirt, and he'd put it down the back of his shirt. All right? He got in there and ripped a double against us. Next at bat, all right? He gets up to bat, he grabs a handful of dirt, puts it down his back. All right, he gets in there, singles to left field. Third at bat, he doubled again. Fourth at bat, he made a homer against us. Anyway, the kid had a great day. All right? And we're sitting there watching this guy. And so the game's over, we shake hands, and coaches get together a little at the end, you know, hey, great game, blah, blah, blah. I said, Coach, this Lightfoot guy, what's his deal? Every time he got up into the box, he took a handful of dirt and threw it down his back. I said, what's going on there? He says, oh, Lord, Coach. He says, he's been going to see a sports psychologist. The sports psychologist told him to help him relax, he needs to go to his happy place. I said, what's the dirt all about? He says, the dirt, his favorite place is having, sorry, ladies, his favorite place is having sex on the beach with his girlfriend. Oh. So the dirt on his back reminds him of having sex on the beach. So he gets in the batter's box and he goes to that happy place. But what's that happy place do to you? It relaxes you. The adrenaline slows down. Adrenaline is a great thing for a fight. It's not a real good thing when you step into the batter's box. Okay? Because you just try too hard, your emotions are up, your energy's up, all right, your blood's flowing. So you got to get, especially the bigger the situation, the more relaxed you got to be, all right? And Big Papi's kind of a relaxed guy, and that's why he's a clutch hitter. And all of us should be that way, but think about that. Now, the happy spot, you could put a dot on your batting glove. Some people put sayings on their hat, you know, from the Bible or just whatever it is. But when you find yourself in a big situation, go to your happy place. Find something that relaxes you a little bit, all right? And get in there, relax, and do your job. Okay, everybody understand that? Makes sense?
You guys bring a shovel?
All right, we're gonna hit a little bit.
All right. So when we hit, remember the four things yesterday that we talked about that were critical in hitting the contact points, and we talked how the shoulders really weren't so important, but our feet, hips, hands, head. Okay. So what can be beneficial for you all is when each of us is hitting, take 2 or 3 swings and watch the feet. Take 2 or 3 swings, watch the hips. 2 or 3 swings, watch the hands. 2 or 3 swings, watch the head. Break it down for yourself that way, and then take some swings and just watch the whole synergy of it working together. You'll see some subtle differences, but you should see some very similarity with all of us on those main things.